Hi, this is Captain Drew Cavanaugh of Florida Inshore Fishing Charters and Mosquito Lagoon Site Fishing Charters, located here in East Central Florida on the world-famous Mosquito Lagoon and Indian River. And today we're going to do another series in the How to Catch Redfish, Trout, and Black Drum series, and this is part 4, I believe, and it's called means, meaning how you're going to do it, whether it's boat, kayak, or wade fishing. And this is going to be a really easy subject to go over. Everything else we've gone over is leading up to, you know, how we're going to get out there and all that good stuff. So there's several different ways to fish for those species that I mentioned. Again, here in Florida, in Central Florida, especially on the Mosquito Lagoon, Indian River behind me here. The way I started out when I was a kid and as I was younger is I had a canoe. And I was a big fan of a canoe coming out here. I would launch up in New Smyrna Beach at Eldora or down in Titusville in the Banana River or whatever and fish that area. And then as I got older, I eventually got a, went through one canoe, then another canoe. And as I got older, I started using a canoe, which canoe is great. They're made there in Titusville. Classic boat. Great for a beginner or just one person, good for backcountry. Really can't go wrong with it. It's perfect to fish the north end of the Mosquito Lagoon and some of the southern parts of the lagoon or backcountry areas where it's protected, where draft is, where it's 4, 5, 6 inches of water some places, running a couple foot pretty easy without doing damage to the grass. So that's one thing that you can look at. Now other places like the Everglades or North Florida and all that, you just got to know your area that you're going in. So your best bet is, if you're on a tight budget and you really don't want to have a boat with an outboard, I would say I'm more of a canoe fan than a kayak, because I haven't really been in a kayak a whole lot. I've been in a canoe a ton of times. Growing up, used to fish the Khyber River religiously. So I was comfortable in a canoe. I like a canoe you can stand up in, you can carry stuff in. It's pretty easy. Now, transportation of it's kind of hard. The canoes that I had were 16, 18 foot. So you either got to put it on top of a truck or put it on a trailer. It's not like these kayaks that they make. They're 8, 10, 12 feet long that can go in the back of your pickup truck. So you got a canoe and kayak is one way. And especially out here, I'll step aside for a second. Yeah, I know you can't see much, but this whole area is all backcountry. There's a lot of backcountry, so it's a good thing. It's a good ideal vessel for that kind of stuff. It's great. It's stealthy. One nice thing about a canoe and kayak is without an outboard on it or without a trolling motor too, once you put it on some kind of power other than man power, you have to get it registered. So if you just use a paddle and man power, no registration needed, just got to carry the basic safety gear, and you'll want to check with your local state and government what's required there. I know out here, if I believe correctly, a canoe that's under 16 foot or 16 foot, life vest, class 1, class 2 life vest, throw cushion, paddle obviously to get around, and the basic stuff, a whistle, all that kind of stuff. But just check with your local state and see what's required there. So then the next thing up would be, I would call the next thing up versus a canoe and kayak would be like a canoe, or like a Hell's Bay Glade skiff or something like that. Smaller boat, not big enough to require a 3/4 ton truck or something to pull it. It could be pulled with a little Prius, I guess. So something like that's perfect. A little 10 horsepower, 5 horsepower, 15 horsepower. Great for fishing the backcountry waters up like in this area. And again, I'm only speaking this area. I don't know other areas. I can't speak for Louisiana, Texas, and all that. But say the Eldora House, launching over at Turtle Mound, fishing the whole north end, Edgewater, New Smyrna Beach, fishing the Titusville end down near Eddy Creek and all that kind of stuff. Now you start launching in the center of the lagoon with something like that, and you start going across when it's windy, or you get out there and it's calm and it's windy coming back, and it can be a dangerous situation. But again, on a budget and that kind of stuff, it's perfect, great access, fits in a small garage or an apartment complex or wherever you're at. Now the only bad thing, like a canoe, kayak, and a canoe, a Glade skiff or something like that, you're limited on passengers. One person, obviously will work. 2 people idealistic in a canoe and a canoe or like a Glade skiff or something like that. But you start getting 3 and 4 of you, that's not going to happen. So then the next thing up, we're going to talk about a flats boat. Now, when I say flats boats, I mentioned a couple brand names there, Canoe, Glade skiff, and all that. That's just because I've been in those, and they're great for backcountry, good quality. So I have no problem with them. I've owned canoes, never owned the Glade skiff. I'm hoping to one day. They're a great boat. Neighbor in here's got one, and we go out in it quite a bit, and it's just a fantastic boat. And like I said, I don't own one, but also I've got high remarks for it. So now we're going to talk flats boats. Now that opens up a whole new variety. And a flat boat to me is any boat that drafts anywhere between 4 or 5 inches up to 12 inches. For me, anything over 12 inches is going to go to a bay boat. And you know, you'll get some people in some areas, well, my flat boat drafts 18 inches, we're fishing 5 foot of water. Well, another thing is, the deepest water we fish a lot is 3 feet, 4 feet maybe, 3 to 2 feet. 18 inches is a magical depth. 18 inches to 28 inches is perfect. So when you go buy a boat, one, budget, that's your personal preference. If it's an unlimited budget, then knock yourself out. If I had my way, I'd have a bay boat, a flats boat, and an offshore boat, but money is not an object. It's, you know, money's, it's, you know, boats are expensive. Let's not you know, say anything else here. So one thing is your budget's personal. So then the next thing that you're going to do is, when I say means to get on this type of fish, and redfish, trout, black drum, backcountry tarpon, backcountry snook, and all that, and not going way offshore. If you want to be able to run along the beaches, you're going to have to make sure your boat's got some freeboard, got enough horsepower, get it in and out. You know, like my Ranger Banshee Extreme, I would never take it out in the Atlantic. I would not want to run along the beaches. It's just not a quality boat, or a boat I would recommend to go along the beaches, just like I wouldn't take a canoe or a Glade skiff out there either. You know, not unless you're willing, if something happens, to beach it and then you lose your investment. So that's not an option. A canoe, a kayak I would, because, you know, if you tip it, it's, you know, you might lose your tackle and all that, but you're not going to lose $10, $20, $30,000 worth of boat equipment. So then you have to say to yourself, where are you going to fish? What are you going to do? What type of fishing are you going to do? What's your budget? Storage? Where are you going to put it? That kind of stuff. So with that said, you know, like if you buy something for the lagoon or backcountry here, you really don't want a boat that drafts more than 12 inches, because a lot of the areas in here have a draft restriction of 12 inches. Plus, you start getting a boat that the manufacturer says it drafts 12 inches, that's heavy. That's a lot of boat. That's 1,000, 2,000 pounds worth of boat. And if you're going to be pulling that boat around, that dog don't hunt. That's not going to happen. Unless you start getting into carbon fiber, Kevlar, and even then, you know, an 18-foot flats boat draft 6 inches, you know, that's idealistic. 8 inches, that's fine. Depends on how many anglers you're putting on the boat and whatnot. And then the other thing I want to mention, so as far as getting a flats boat, that's more of his personal preference. You got to ask yourself, do you ever want to go out in the Atlantic? Do you want to cross the big open river, the Indian River Lagoon system, you know, Tampa Bay, you know, down near Everglades, where it might get 2-foot seas or 3-foot seas? Then you're going to have to start looking at, you know, a bay flats boat combo. So I guess it's almost like I had somebody tell me about a propeller once. You can't have a prop that gets you great hole shot and speed. You can't have the both. You know, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So unfortunately with boats, you know, you're not going to have your, you know, one that goes shallow, one that runs fast, one that carry a lot of people. It's just not going to happen. It's like a vehicle, truck, whatever. Now the last thing for means for this type of fishing is wade fishing. Now I've done a little bit of wade fishing, but like I said, when I was younger, for a few $100s, I just bought a canoe and it was easier. One thing about wade fishing here in Florida is, you know, you start walking around areas like this when it's hot out, like right now it's summertime. You know, you start getting snakes, alligators, that kind of stuff. Step on things, cut your foot, whatnot. But it is convenient. It can be done. It's just a matter of finding the area to do it in. Again, where you live at, just check your, you know, local laws and areas to go in. Do your research and all that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna speak much about licensing and all that kind of stuff, but I think the main thing is that if you're new to doing this, and that's what this series was designed for, was how to get from A to B to start doing this. I mean, I didn't start right off just jump out one day and say, hey, I want to learn how to flats fish and go sight fishing for redfish and trout and drum and all that kind of stuff. It was a slow process. My grandpa used to take me out to Playland Beach and surf fish. Like I said, when I was a little kid, I mostly fished the Wekiva River, you know, for bass, catfish, panfish, all that kind of stuff. Whole different ball game. And then as time went by, you know, you learn things. It's like an apprenticeship. It's like seasoning, you know. You shape things like Play-Doh, and then you evolve into who you are and what you like to do. So what I would suggest is take it slow, you know, unless money's not an object. Like I said, if that's not a problem and you can afford to go, then that's between you and yourself and your family and all that. But if this is something that you're starting off in, you know, and you're not really sure, because there's people out here that go, and clients and whatnot I take out here, and they do this and they realize, well, this really isn't my type of fish, and I kind of like freshwater fishing a little bit better, or offshore, or not fishing in Florida. So, you know, if this is something you're going to do every now and then, look at getting a canoe or kayak or a canoe or something like that, and then, you know, slowly work your way up to a flats boat. Ask questions, you know. I'm always welcome people to email me or call me, and I'll do my best to answer and get back to you and answer them as well as I can. Other guides, ask them. Most of the guides and colleagues I know, they have no problem with asking questions. You know, just like any line of work, you don't want to bombard people every day with things, but you're more than welcome to call me and ask me questions, and I'll take the time to answer it, you know. People did that for me, you know. And you know, I wouldn't have gotten here to the place I'm at without help like that. That's the way life works. So I guess the best question is, or the best answer to this is, when I say means on how to do it, is just look at your budget, look what you want to do, and then go from there. And more than anything, just like the fishing itself, take your time and don't rush it. And other than that, I want to thank you. This is Captain Drew Cavanaugh of Florida Inshore Fishing Charters, and everybody have a great day. Thank you.